All right, welcome in. It is Show Pony Live. Great to be with you today. It is awesome. Our third live show ever. Absolute pleasure to be with you. We got a great show today. We got Jason Horowitz coming on in just a little bit, the voice of the Las Vegas Raiders on the radio in the National Football League, a guy that I've known for 20 plus years. Cannot wait to talk to him about his career and the Raiders and the draft and everything. We are going to be busy today, but let's dive right into the big news. Jameson Williams, did you see this? Yahoo Sports put this out earlier. Jameson Williams from the Detroit Lions is suing the NCAA. This is the former wide receiver at Ohio State, the former wide receiver at Alabama. He is suing the NCAA, the Big Ten, and the SEC conference over allegations that they were using his NIL without compensating him. Now, what does this mean? This guy played college football right before, and I'm talking right before NIL went live. So he's saying, what the hell? Where's my money? All these other guys are making millions upon millions upon millions of dollars. You see, Brendan Sorsby is going to lose a ton of money because of the gambling thing, and we'll talk about what Sorsby did a little bit earlier because we got some details now on the amount he was gambling, which is shocking. I mean, this guy was an addict. There's no question about it, the Texas Tech quarterback. But I think Jameson Williams is just the first of many. The Supreme Court, June 21st, 2021, I've brought it up a million times, was very clear what the NCAA was doing, prohibiting kids from essentially getting extra benefits because they were athletes to protect the purity of the sport and amateurism. He's saying, listen, what they did was illegal. It was wrong. They kept me from making money in the prime of my college career when I could have made millions. That's screwed up. I want my money. Give me my money. And I'm very curious to see what happens here because he's going after the SEC, he's going after the Big Ten, and he's going after the NCAA. And is he wrong? To me, he's not. To me, we've been saying it this whole time, is the money got bigger and bigger and bigger. And Ed O'Bannon sued EA Sports. Ed O'Bannon's like, dude, this ain't cool. You're using my name, image, and likeness without my permission. You cannot do that. And Jameson Williams is saying, guys, I played college football. You didn't pay me a damn cent. That ain't cool. That ain't above board. That's not okay. Pay me my money. Pay me my money. And that's what Jameson Williams is saying. You owe me. All these other guys are making it now because you were wrong. The law said you were wrong. 9 Supreme Court justices to 0 said you were wrong. Give me my damn money. I want it now. I want it right now. And he's not alone. Because how many college athletes, and how about the ones, Jameson Williams is making money now with the Detroit Lions. He's a big part of their passing game. But what about the dudes that didn't play in the NFL? What about the dudes from that era that could have made a fortune, that could have bettered themselves and didn't because of the rules, because of amateurism? This could open up Pandora's box in a big way. Very curious to see what's going to happen with Jameson Williams moving forward. Again, Jason Horowitz going to join us here in just a little bit. The other big news today I mentioned, Brendan Sorsby. Holy crap. Did you see this? Sources who have reviewed the betting data have told On3 Sports, this is from on3.com, that going back to 2022, Brendan Sorsby, the Texas Tech quarterback, you see him there in a Cincinnati uniform. He used to play for them, placed more than $10,000 in wagers that at one point averaged 20 bets per day. Sorsby did it across multiple states using a range of apps. This guy's got a gambling addiction. He checked himself into rehab, and I think that was the preemptive because the story was going to come out. He got ahead of it. Texas Tech got ahead of it. But holy living hell. And that was before he got paid a lot of money. Remember that. That's before he was making big NIL money. So this kid just likes to bet. He's got that addiction. That's why they have that red line. For those that have an addiction, call the damn number. No kidding. Sorsby needed to call it But now he's going to cost himself millions and millions of dollars because of it. Millions of dollars Sorsby's going to cost himself because now he's probably not going to be able to play college football. He's probably going to be ruled ineligible. The NCAA is not going to let him play. It's insanity. He cost himself everything because he's an addict. And I'll tell you what, if I'm a lawyer, though, I'm playing that card. The society screwed him over with all the betting apps and all the commercials and billboards and all that. He screwed him over. He had no chance. He had no chance, man. You know what I'm saying? These betting apps, these billboards, they advertise on everything. Sorsby could say, I was helpless. I'm an addict. That's like putting, a piece of cake in front of a guy like me and saying, don't eat it. But I want you to smell it and enjoy it, but don't eat it. Well, you know what's going to happen? I'm going to eat it, and I'm going to look for the rest of the cake. That's what's going to happen. And that's what Sorsby kept doing. Betting. But holy crap. I mean, look at that again. More than $10,000 in wagers. And at one point averaged over 20 bets per day. That is absolutely insane. Hey, reminder, Show Pony University. We start on Wednesday, May 6th, 8 p.m. Got another sign up last night. Go ahead. See that little QR code? Just go ahead and scan that. You can sign up for Show Pony University. It's $100 a week. It's a 4-week class every Wednesday. If you want to learn how to be on the radio, you want to learn how to podcast, you want to learn digital media. I have been doing this for over 20 years. I know how to do it. I know how to get you there. If you want to podcast and have no idea what you're doing, how do I organize my thoughts? How do I organize a topic? How do I book guests? How do I reach out to people? How do I gain confidence? How do I do this? I want to do it. How do I do it? I'm going to help you. And we're going to break it down really easy. We're going to talk. The first week is going to be about attitude, how to approach this, confidence, how to prepare, something called a topic tree. You will learn the topic tree. You will commit it to your heart if you have anything to do with me, because that's how you flush out topics. For example, today with Brennan Sorsby, I would take it in the middle of my topic tree and I would branch it out. Now, different ways to talk about it. Who's going to play quarterback next year at Texas Tech? What does it do to Brennan Sorsby's NFL career? What did Cincinnati know? And now we can build out a show that way. You see what I'm saying? And now we can find sound and all kinds of things. I'll teach you the tricks of the trade. Show Pony University starting May 6th, live cohort. We have limited spots. I want to get like 8 people involved for the first one. Hopefully it's really, really hands-on. I'm going to really get you guys start thinking about what it's like to put together a show. But just scan the QR code, really easy. And that's the way to join the cohort next week. All right. How about AJ Dybantsa? I just love this. AJ Dybantsa, the BYU star, gets a partnership with Nike. Brand new logo, brand new. I mean, I just think when you're good enough to be at that point, when you're that guy, and you're good enough to be in a situation where you get your own Nike logo, you're going to have merch like that. Like, he signed out of college, and God bless him, because he put himself in a position, didn't he? He put himself in a beautiful, beautiful position that you do well in college. Then they bump you up to the pro deal. Now he's got, going into the NBA draft, he's going to have merch. He's going to have all that. This guy, brilliant business decision. And that's what NIL was supposed to be all about. Like, a kid like Zion Williamson should have been able to do this with Nike immediately in college at Duke, and wasn't. But AJ Dybantsa was, and I think the logo is pretty damn sweet. All right. Again, hey, subscribe to ShowPonyMedia.com. It's free. Doesn't cost you a damn dime. Subscribe to Show Pony Media. Get up there every single day. I post the podcast. I post all kinds of different little daily tidbits, what's going on in the world of college football. Plus, we have the Show Pony Club. So if you want to get a little closer to me, I mean, free, trust me, you get a lot of good stuff for free. But if you want to get closer, we got behind the scenes of what's going on in the world of media, notebooks for college football, insider stuff, $8.95 a month, super simple, showponymedia.com. And the best value, $80 a year. Really easy. All right. I'm going to take a break. And then when we come back, we're going to hear from Jason Horowitz. We're going to talk to him, have him as a guest, the voice of the Las Vegas Raiders on the radio. But before that, a public service announcement.
Why? Why take a chance? Why risk a mistake? Why say something? We all have reasons why we choose to ignore the things that give us pause, that seem out of place, that don't feel right. The word why can either paralyze us or empower us to stand up and protect what we love. So if you see something, why do you say something?
I see safe for my family.
I see safe for my friends.
I see say so that they are safe.
We see say for each other.
I see say because all of this matters.
We all have something worth protecting, a why that unifies this community we're all a part of. So protect your everyday. Report suspicious activity to local authorities. If you see something, say something.
We are back here on Show Pony Live, and we got Jason Horowitz with us today. I am Chris Childers. Jason Horowitz is my star guest. This is the podcast that I started a couple weeks ago. And Horowitz, you are like one of the first three guests, and Allie Gehring was one of the other ones. So just know you are in rare territory here, but it has been growing. It has been fun, and I can't wait to talk to you because I've known you for quite some time. And I just want to kind of go behind the scenes of your career because you've had quite the journey. So hello, my friend.
Hi.
How are you?
If I'm the star of Show Pony radio and media, then we need to get Show Pony radio off the ground a little bit better, because I know you know much more famous people than that.
Well, I do, but I figured, you know what? This guy's got a great story. The NFL draft just happened. You were all over it for SiriusXM. Plus, you actually call games for a team. So we're at a unique intersection right now in your calendar, and I thought it would be kind of cool to bring you on and talk about it. So great to have you, my friend. So I don't even know how to introduce you. If it's the voice of the Las Vegas Raiders, plus the host of March Madness for Westwood One, plus SiriusXM, plus CBS Sportsnet. Like, am I missing any employers?
Not at the moment. I mean, so, you know, it's ever changing, right? I think particularly in the more recent landscape, I mean, even the great Ian Eagle works for 6 different people. Mm-hmm. And he's someone that networks would want to have all by themselves because he's so famous. And yet he calls football for CBS and Westwood One, and he does basketball, I believe, for Amazon Prime. And I'm sure I think he does Tennis Channel. Like, so you like even the great of the greats work for a lot of different networks. Kevin Harlan, the same thing. So I don't think that's so unique. I think what's changed for me over time is I used to be specifically a studio host with a little bit of radio. And as time evolved and my career evolved, I became much more specifically a play-by-play announcer with a little bit of studio. So it completely flipped and reversed. And it was right about like 8 or 9 years ago, 8 or 9 years into my career. And I was working for CBS Sports at the time, which I had since I graduated college in 05. I had started as the face of CBS Sports Line when they wanted to do video exclusively for the internet in 2005. And like 2012, 2013, like I missed calling games. I had called some games for the WNBA early in my career, but I really missed it. And CBS Sports Network had some stuff that a lot of people at the time weren't really watching. And there was someone who had a voice surgery, like, we need you to fill in. And my first TV game for CBS Sports Network was the D2 football game of the week.
I remember that. I remember you doing that. Yeah.
It was Grand Valley State, the reigning national champ.
Who was the coach?
Oh God, it wasn't Brian Kelly.
Okay, I was gonna say, was it BK?
Yeah. But it was Grand Valley State at Azusa Pacific, which is the school of it's in Pasadena, down the road from the Rose Bowl.
Yeah.
And they have this cool on-campus football stadium that hosts like maybe 15,000, which for D2 is big. And it was the first time they're ever on TV. They were preseason ranked. They had a running back with it. I'm blanking on his name, but he ended up getting drafted in like the 4th or 5th round. And they probably had 12,000 people there. The problem was all of our cameras were on our side facing the other way because it's D2 Stadium. And they had all of their fans in these seats. So it looked totally empty on TV. And it goes to double overtime. You get a walk-off touchdown.
Oh, yeah.
Great. So, that was my start in CBS Sports. And lo and behold, here 12 years later, I pretty much only do games.
Welcome to television is
Yeah,
what
that's
they
right.
say.
That's
my
right.
God, the 0 people in the crowd. I can't even imagine. Jason Horowitz with me today on the podcast as we go behind his career. So you are most famously known now as the voice of the Las Vegas Raiders. And I've known you since I think you did the thing for CBS Sportsline, and you were infancy in your career at Westwood and, infancy in your career at SiriusXM.
Yeah.
When you got the Raiders gig, I was so excited for you, especially because not only is it the freaking Raiders, but it's the Las Vegas Raiders in this new era. And you're kind of a part of this exciting, new era. And when in history books, they'll look at you as the guy, the voice of the Raiders. When they moved to Las Vegas, it's kind of neat.
Yeah.
It's actually really neat. Let's get into how you got the damn job. How did you, was it an agent thing? Were you just kind of searching the internet? How did it happen?
No, neither of those, actually. At the time, I had for a couple of years had left my agent and was on my own. I wasn't really looking for anything new at the time. And so I was pretty much doing my own stuff, but I had contact with my old agent at the time. She had left a place that I was at and was working with a pretty big firm at the time. And so we were still in contact, but it was April of 22. The job was open. They weren't going to bring back, the real voice of football, Brent Musburger.
Yeah.
Right. In our realm of college football, I
oh,
know he's big in the NFL before that, but like in our realm, he and Keith Jackson were the voice of college football, the voices of college football. And, he had done it for 4 years. He had done the transition from Oakland to Las Vegas, but they weren't going to bring him back. And, I knew about it, so I'd put some stuff in, but I never heard anything, and I didn't think anything of it. And July 8th, 2022, Karen, my wife, and I are out to dinner with some friends here in Westfield, New Jersey, local pizza place on a Friday night, and I get a phone call from Jim Gray, the famous broadcaster Jim Gray.
Really?
And Jim and I know each other because he was always part of our Westwood on broadcast at the Final Four. He was our sideline reporter and did a lot of interviews with dignitaries and such. And
sure, yeah.
I don't remember when he started that, but he had been doing it 2014 until I believe his last year with us was the COVID year. And so he called me, and it's weird because earlier in the day, I had been thinking to myself that it was the anniversary of LeBron James doing The Decision.
Okay.
And Jim Gray hosted that.
Yeah,
but I hadn't talked to Jim Gray in like 18 months or 21 months. So I was like, why is Jim Gray calling me? And it was just really weird because I had thought about him 6 hours earlier.
Yeah, isn't that weird how that happens?
It's really weird, right? And
it's really weird.
We're sitting at the table, and I'm not going to answer this at the table.
Yeah.
So about 20 minutes later, I go to the bathroom, and I'm like, I'm going to listen to this voicemail, and it's Jim Gray on the phone with the man in charge of hiring for the Las Vegas Raiders.
Oh.
And he's like, hey, it's a great time. I know we haven't talked in a while. I want to introduce you to Brad Finney. He's in charge of X. And then Brad gets on the phone. Hey, Jason, Jim's been telling us a lot about you. We want to talk to you about the opening for the Raiders. We'd love to chat with you. I'm like, I don't know how PG this podcast is, so I'll say this. Holy crap.
Yeah.
While I'm in the urinal, I say that out loud. And so I immediately go outside. I excuse myself from the table. I'm like, I need to make this phone call. I call him. And we talked to Brad, and then we set up a meeting for Monday that week. So 3 days later, that weekend, I go for a run, and I slip and fall and break my elbow.
Really? Okay.
Crazy. That's a Sunday afternoon, right? I have this interview on Monday, and it turned out to be a really nice icebreaker. I was like totally nervous, had no idea it was a Zoom call like this. And so I'm like I'm like, Karen, I need help getting dressed. Like,
yeah.
So I'm telling him this story, and it really made the interview process go a little bit more calmly.
Wow. Yeah.
And they listened to my stuff. They asked for a little bit more. That Friday, they called me. They're like, hey, you're our guy. So that's how I got the job.
Nice,
and it was pretty awesome. And it has been awesome ever since.
It's got to be the most fairy tale, surreal, just incredible thing to be the voice of the Raiders. And you got to be damn good. You got to be lucky. You got to know the right people. I think this is a great story for people that always ask about broadcasting. I think Just based on your story, I think the best advice you'd probably give to somebody is A, get a lot of reps in, do what you got to do, even if nobody's watching at a Division
Yeah.
two game, and be nice to people. Because you probably never in a million years thought your relationship with Jim Gray would have come
Oh,
back
never.
full circle to get the
Yeah,
Raiders
never.
gig, right?
And Jim and I were friendly and are friendly. He obviously has his relationship with Tom Brady, and he's around the Raiders
Yeah.
now a lot more. And I didn't know this before all of this, but he was very friendly with Mark Davis and knew Al Davis very well. And people respect Jim's opinion around sports, and so there's some of that. But no, that last thing you just said, I very much I do no in no way, shape, or form do I think that I am one of the best play-by-play people in the country at all. I think I'm good at it, but in no way, shape, or form do I think but one thing I do pride myself on, aside from preparation, is like I am really easy to work with. I don't think, maybe early in my career, and that was certainly something I learned, but there's no yelling at anyone. There's no, I may have some ideas and let's talk about it, but in broadcast, everyone's got a job to do. There's no one trying to mess up. And so things are going to go wrong. It's like everything else. And how do you handle it? And what do you say? And the other part to me, I know you long enough that we love what we do. It's still just a game. Like it's just fun.
Yes.
And I realize that people live and die with this stuff and people in charge of it make it out to be way more serious than it needs to be. But it's just fun. It's just fun. And that's how I try to go about any game that I'm doing, certainly trying to do.
So Jason Horowitz is my guest today on Show Pony Live.
Yeah. With a cold, by the way. I don't know if you heard during the draft, but I made it all the way Thursday without losing my voice until I was about to send it back to studio.
You're kidding, and it went?
Oh
God.
And Hester and Pat Kerwin.
Classic.
And this is a week later, and it's still not gone.
Well, trust me, I get it, especially
I know
this
you
time
get
of
it.
the year, man. Oh, I get it more than anybody on the planet. So you still live in New York, right? So you fly
in New Jersey, yeah.
So how does that work? So you're the voice of the Raiders.
Yep.
Are you just going for games? Are there other parts of the year? Like I know the draft you're working for Sirius XM, but there are do they have caravans you got to do? How does that whole thing work out?
Sometimes. I mean, I Kurt Morrison, my partner, and I will be there for mandatory mini camp when that happens in early to mid June. We will put it on our schedule. I won't be at every day of practice of training camp, but let's say there's 3 weeks of training camp before the first preseason game. I'll have 2 separate carve outs and I'll go for 3 days at a time. But yeah, I mean, I am flying to where the team is or Vegas for games. I will have some stuff to do during the week with some of our affiliate radio stations and Raider Nation Radio, and they'll have me on some of their YouTube channel stuff. But, reality is in this day and age of what you're doing, you and I are talking to each other on a podcast over Zoom, and we're all used to it and everyone expects it. TV shows interview people via Zoom all the time. So it's normal. It happens. And it's totally doable. And the Raiders kind of know our situation and why we still live in New Jersey and all of that, and have been wonderful about it. And there's a couple other play-by-play announcers for teams around the NFL more recently that no longer live where the team is. So it's happening a little bit more.
I don't think Taylor Zarzour lives here in Nashville.
I think he moved there.
Did he? Okay.
I
didn't know that.
He and his wife, I believe, and I don't want to speak out of turn, but I believe they had just actually, because he's a little older than I am and his kids are in college. And I believe
they're that old.
Either built or bought a house in Charlotte where he was living because he was doing SEC Network and PGA stuff. And I believe they were going to or did last year move to Nashville. I don't know if it ever happened, but when we saw him in October, that was the plan.
That makes sense because he's with the team now, and there's all kinds. And they like to have their announcer, do caravans and draft shows.
But it depends what a team needs. Some of the announcers, and 32 of us, and some of us are very different. You have your likes of Bob Wischusen, who was very big on ESPN with college football and hockey and. But he's been the voice of the Jets for 20 plus years and actually lives a couple towns over from me.
Oh, does he really? That's cool.
He does. Yeah. But, so you've got that. And Yanish Shroff, who's in Charlotte with the Panthers and with ESPN and other places. And you've got some of that. And then you've got some announcers. And I know you grew up in Chicago. Jeff Joniak is pretty straight to Chicago.
Yeah, I love Jeff.
He's not doing national stuff and things like that. So it's a wide range of what's being asked of different people. And what their team and their radio stations and affiliates need them to do.
Jeff will absolutely be asked to be on this show at some point, because I've listened to him loyally for a couple of decades now. He's to me what a lot of Raider fans are, what you're going to be to them over
Maybe
time.
one day.
Yeah,
Raiders
it
fans
happens, man.
They have Bill King, and they have Greg Papa, who's currently the voice of the Niners and battling.
You're the Vegas guy. You're the voice of the Vegas Raiders, which I just think is the neatest thing. It's so cool. The job that you do, it's interesting. So you fly back and forth, and then you've got the games and all of that. From a Las Vegas perspective, do you feel like, was there a time you had to like immerse yourself in the community to get a feel for it? Like, how much time have you spent in Las Vegas? That part of it is interesting to me, because at some point I'm sure there's references that happen on the broadcast or businesses and stuff like that where you kind of got to know what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, the reality is during the game is the game, and with the radio, because TV controls commercials and all that stuff. And the NFL, you live in the college world where commercials are godly too long. Particularly if you're in the stadium and you see that clock show 4:20, you're like, oh my God, what the heck is this? The NFL doesn't have that. The longest commercial break is 2:20, and we're taking 2-minute commercials, and you're back on the air 10 seconds to go, and they snap it right when 2:20 happens. So there's not a ton of time that we have to talk about really anything other than the game or stuff with outside of the team. But yeah, no, I stay up to date on all those goings. My statistician, particularly at home, and Spotter, they are both within the news organizations within Las Vegas. So we'll chat about stuff during the week, so I know what's going on. And Las Vegas is a like you in Nashville. I mean, Las Vegas is a booming community with a lot of people moving there all the time. And the Oakland A's are coming there sooner rather than later. There's probably going to be an NBA franchise sooner rather than later. So there's a lot happening there. And most people outside of Vegas think of the Strip, because why else would you think of anything else? But the Raiders are in a town called Henderson. Their headquarters are. Yeah. A booming suburb south of the Strip. But
they're in the community.
Some other great ones.
Yeah, they're in the community. Yep.
Yeah. And
That's
so they're
big.
out and about. There's other different stuff. And, and there's some players who are big in the community. Obviously, Max Crosby. But when I first got to Vegas, Darren Waller was there, and he's, big into sobriety and all that stuff. And he had a organization within the community. So there's a lot of different stuff going on.
I love that. I think that's pretty cool. Jason Horowitz, our guest, he's the voice of the Raiders and Westwood One with the March Madness and Sirius XM and the NFL draft and all kinds of stuff he does. He is a broadcaster's broadcaster, and you wanted to do this. You studied it in Syracuse. I find this question to be fascinating for you. So I went to Middle Tennessee State, which is nowhere near the broadcasting school that Syracuse is, even though it's a wonderful program for what it is. It doesn't have that accolade that's, everybody associates great broadcasting with either Syracuse or Missouri, from the news perspective. So you went to Syracuse. I have recently got into the world of academia. I joined the board of the Communications College at Alabama, and it's incredible for me to walk around just a class and to see how much the curriculum has changed. Yeah. Everything is different. When you were at Syracuse, I'm curious what you were learning compared to what the actual world is 20 years later.
That's interesting. So, and I actually would love to come sit in a class at Alabama or anywhere, and actually multiple places around the country to see, because they're all different.
They'd love to have you.
The reason, so it's 2001. I'm graduating high school. I think we're about the same age. And I have to convince my parents why we're going to spend much more money than they had put away for me to go to an in-state school in Michigan, about why Syracuse is the place. And the thing about Syracuse, and I'm sure a lot of places are this now, but it certainly was then, is that there's a lot of hands-on experience that you get, not necessarily in the classroom, but in the extracurriculars, if you so choose. So people are very familiar with the radio station up there that does men's college basketball and football, as well as lacrosse. And now they've got, Nick Wright, who's very famous with Fox Sports, but he started the talk show department up there, I don't know, 03, 04, 05, whatever it is. And, so many people, the moment you tour Syracuse and you go see the WAER, you learn about Tirico and Costas and Ian Eagle, and now my college roommate, Jason Benetti, and, Bob Costas and Dick Stockton and Marv Albert and all the people, Noah Eagle now, right? all the people that have gone to Syracuse and they started this place, and it's this breeding ground for sports announcers. So you learn about that. But then something else that's really important when you're at Syracuse is that your professors are all people who were in the business and very high level in the business. And, my faculty advisor was a guy who had been at Syracuse as an announcer, but also bigger places. I had a professor who was on 60 Minutes and CBS Evening News, and he was teaching us about what it's like in the day-to-day stuff that you don't know until you're in the business.
Sure.
They're teaching you about that. Yeah. And how to be good and how to write and how to get stories and how to interview and all of those things. And that is what your curriculum is. And I would say, and I can't speak for everyone, but I would say a lot of people who go to Newhouse don't necessarily take their science classes seriously or your minors. But you know what you're getting, and you go to your Newhouse classes because of that. And you appreciate that. So there's that. But, in 04 and 05, we were still editing on old equipment, and you're learning how to, none of it was digital. We didn't really have anything to do with internet video, which was, when 2005, and I get the job offer for CBS Sportsline to be the face of, do I really want to do video for the internet? Who's going to watch TV on the internet? And I'm going to tell you exactly what I was weighing. Let me tell you what I was weighing. I had a job offer in Shreveport, Louisiana, which was pretty high for coming out of college. It was market, I don't know, 88, 90, whatever it was. I was talking to a station in El Paso, Texas, which is around market 100. And all of this is because I had done the dream job thing. But it wasn't like market 180, 210, where a lot of my colleagues were going to start and make $18,000 a year. And I had those offers, and I had an offer at CBS to go live in New York City and do CBS Sportsline and videos for the internet. I'm like, well, I'm going to live in New York City. And obviously it turned out to be a really good decision.
Yeah.
But that's how far it's come and how fast it came.
I know.
Because, the world of podcasting, the world of video for the internet, anyone can be now we're not all journalists. And I don't even consider myself a journalist. I'm not. But anyone can be. And that, I think, is the biggest difference, and how I'd be very interested to hear how professors are teaching the responsibility of that. And frankly, how the current administration has put an attack on the media over the course of the last 10 years with the whole element of fake news, both the first term and this term, and how that's drastically changed the world of journalism.
It's massively changed the world of journalism, and that's not a political statement at all.
No, not at all.
And I will say this, I give the president a lot of credit because he has executed what he planned on doing beautifully, because he can essentially maneuver the way he wants to without having to have the media hold him accountable. And you could love that.
They don't know how to. And no one ever, and there's no, the things on a daily basis that are just accepted and talked, because the phrase fake news that has been going out now for 11 years. And frankly, there were some questions about the news coverage a little bit before that, but the execution of that to make it mainstream and what it has done to the psyche of everyday Joe and Jane America is pretty remarkable, but it's also awful at the same time.
It's changed how you consume information. And again, absolutely nothing about what we're saying is political. I know you could say something and it's going to trigger somebody's emotion. That's not what we're saying. We're just telling you from journalist perspective, as guys that have been educated in this business, we can recognize certain patterns. And for the president, and I'll say this again, it's been very effective for him to be able to, for his presidency, to do what he wants to do. So again, whether you like him or don't like him, that has absolutely had an impact on journalism.
It's a statement of fact, is what it is.
Exactly. It's had an impact on curriculum. It's had an impact on journalism schools, the business. Now it's a lot about social media and digital media. It was funny when I spoke in a class during the NCAA tournament championship game. They had a class at MTSU that was like kind of built around the tournament and a live Twitch and all that kind of stuff.
You didn't call me for that one.
I should have. Well, I was the guest for that.
You were the guest. Okay.
Yeah, I was the guest for the class. But one of the kids in the class asked me what social media was like when I was in college. And I graduated in 04, so I didn't have it.
There wasn't social media.
No, it was 2005.
Facebook had just started.
Yeah. And nothing like it is now.
Yeah.
I mean, you were sharing photos of, it was nothing. It was a .edu thing.
So we talk about AOL Instant Messenger.
I know. Remember
And that,
that?
and that was nobody didn't have any. I mean, people, some will, but a lot of people have no idea what we're talking about. But basically, you were texting each other on your computer. You had a screen name, and you could leave it up when you're away with an away message. Oh my God, crafting a good away message was a big deal.
But it was when I was in junior high, I thought it was the greatest thing in the world.
Sure.
I could interact with my friends. We could message each other and sit there on the computer. And
what was your AOL Instant Messenger name?
I think it was.
You know what it was. You don't think you know. You know.
I don't necessarily do.
Mine was JSO Party.
Because I will tell you right now, I've used MT Chicago SIG since college for everything. Because that's Middle Tennessee. Then I'm from Chicago, and then SIG for Sigma Chi.
Yeah.
And I've still used that to this. I don't remember what it was. Golly, what the hell was it?
Yeah, I was JSO Party.
JSO Party.
And the reason
I remember my friend
Party
was CHS Biff 78 because they called him Biff from Back to the Future.
So my brother's 4 years older. And when I'm in 6th grade and Instant Messenger is starting or AOL is starting, maybe 7th grade, and my brother was in a youth group, and it was called Jolson was the name of the chapter, and his position was Aleph Shoter Gadol, and he was a Michigan State fan, so he was JASG Sparty.
Yeah,
and I'm like, oh, I'm going to steal that. I'm going to be Jason Party.
Nice,
but Jason Party was taken, so I went with JSO Party, which then became a college nickname, which is, in itself a thing.
Which is a thing that it's funny how that takes on a lot. I'm sure somebody still calls you Jason
100%.
Party. Yeah,
100%. Yeah,
guaranteed.
Definitely.
Jason Horowitz, our guest, the voice here of the Las Vegas Raiders. Before I let you go, I want to ask you about your skill set as a host who, does NFL drafts and does Westwood One, a studio kind of analyst. Why do you think it is that you've been able to build, such a reputation that, every year NFL radio makes sure you are the anchor for that? Every year Westwood One brings you in for March Madness. I mean, it's a pretty damn big and cool thing. Why do you think that is?
I don't know the answer to the why. I know how I approach it, and the tournament. I had done tournaments in different capacities before, but I remember in 2014, it was my first year that I was about to be the host of the official broadcast of the NCAA tournament on radio. And I realized how special that was, because at the time you didn't have Turner as part of it. So you had games on TV on CBS, and they chose what you were watching, and Greg Gumbel would show you where you're going. And I realized that the only other person in the world doing that in some capacity was me. And I remember skipping down 10th Avenue in New York City to the CBS Broadcast Center for that first day, and it was pretty awesome. So I think there's a couple of different things. I think there's a passion for it that comes through. I think people hear that. There's that excitement that starts the, hey folks, how are you, and all that stuff. And there's an energy, and that's
your thing.
Yeah, it's kind of a thing. But there's a passion for the tournament. It has always been, and probably will always be, although I'm not thrilled about the expansion. Has always been this level of love for the tournament and what it represents since we were kids. I've always loved it. It's been my favorite event, and I still think it's the most favorite event that we have in this country for sports. I do think we're on the cusp of maybe ruining that, but we'll talk about that separately. So there's that. There is an understanding of everyone else's jobs around me, right? Because particularly on radio, it's changed a little bit in the last 13 years, but we have a format to keep that all the stations that are carrying the tournament, and I have an understanding in my head about what my role is in understanding that stations around the country need to know what type of break you're going to, what sponsors can be in which stations. And that's hard. That's really hard. And I think understanding that helped with the people who were the executive producer at one point, Howard Denneroff for the longest time, now Mike Eby and Brian Finkelstein, who I work with now at Westwood One, understanding what they need to get done so that it doesn't mess up the sales department. It doesn't mess up their affiliates relations, all of those things. And then the other part to that is making sure that my partner, and I've had a lot of different ones, but now it's Nick Baugh, is front and center. He's the basketball guy, and it's fun. Like, the tournament's fun.
It's fun.
And putting all the historical, our buddy Ben Hartsock used to say on our show on Channel 84 that, like, my brain and the knowledge of Heisman Trophy winners and NCAA tournament upsets and like brackets. It's just up here.
Yeah.
And in this world, it really is important.
It's important.
So I'm able to recall some of that stuff at the same time and famous
Yeah.
players and people like that. So I think it's some of that. The NFL draft similar. The first round, because of how it works, where TV's in control of all of it. And, we are relating to how they are. So they've got here's your pick, here's Roger Goodell, here's your interview, and then we're going to go on to the next one. And it's very orderly. Well, for us, it's not, because we have the first few picks, Roger Goodell, but then players start joining us. So, let's say this year we're on pick 10, and Carnell Tate, who was picked 4th by the Titans, sits down, and they're about to be pick 11 by the Cowboys traded up. So I have to be able to, with the traffic, everyone knows where we are with the clock, who's picking, who was picked and is sitting down with us. And oh, by the way, if you're talking, I'm going to pause you, go to the podium for the first round, and come back to you and have all that make sense. And
it's a lot.
There's a lot there. And it works. This year got a little chaotic because we had a lot of players join us consecutively while picks were going in the 20s. But it's fun. And so again, all of that, remembering this is a special thing.
Yeah.
And how fun it is. And my colleagues may criticize a pick, maybe a little more surprised, may like a guy more than others, all those things. And that's not my job. My job is to make sure this is special. Your team is this, your player is this. And oh, by the way, when they sit with us, this is a big deal for you. Let's celebrate it.
Horowitz, you're the best, buddy. Thank you for the time. I know you got to run. You're busy. You got a million things going on. But
not in May. Not busy in May or June. My daughter's bat mitzvahs this weekend, though.
Well, hey, bat mitzvahs, they take some planning. Thank you, my friend. Thank you for the time.
See you, buddy. Thanks for having me.
The great Jason Horowitz, the voice of the Las Vegas Raiders. We are done. Thank you for watching Show Pony Live. And remember, subscribe to the Substack at showponymedia.com. We'll see you tomorrow on the show.